Hello there, welcome to this video where we are going to be looking at the content of different pre-production documents. So title, what goes into a pre-production document, copy down those keywords into your Google Doc, and then we will get cracking. So firstly, we are going to think about mood boards. Mood boards, as you remember from the first video, are used for idea generation, and we can have different things going into a mood board. We can have images, so we can find some pictures, we can put them in there. We can have text, and then when we're looking at text, we can think of different fonts, font sizes, font colors, font types. So again, we can use a nice little comparison of them. We can have graphics, which are more hand-drawn as compared to images. We can have annotations so we can understand what's going on. We can have color schemes as well. One key thing with a mood board is that there's two types of mood board. There is a physical mood board, which is something you can have. It's like a piece of cardboard or a frame, and you can put different things on there. So you can put different materials on there, different fabrics on there, different paints on there. Or you can have an electronic mood board, which, as the name suggests, is done electronically. It's done on a computer using a piece of software. So remember, we've got two different types of mood boards that we can be looking at. But 9 times out of 10, we're talking about electronic mood boards. We're talking about things that you're creating. You can create them on Google Slides. You can create them in Publisher, PowerPoint. Pretty much anything you can work with when we're looking at pages on a computer. So when we're thinking about mood boards, that's what we're looking for in terms of content. When we're thinking about mind maps and spider diagrams, again, remember the differences between the two. Remember what a spider diagram is. Remember what a mind map is, the differences between the two. They will both have nodes and subnodes. So the node, central node in the middle, is what the spider diagram or mind map is out. The node is the piece of information coming off it. Then you've got subnodes coming off from that, subnodes coming off from that, subnodes coming off from that, until we get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. They will both have text, because obviously something needs to go on those nodes to let us know what it's about, who's using it. But then this is where the difference comes. Spider diagrams won't have images, they won't have colour, but mind maps will. So remember, when we're talking about mind maps, if we're having a mind map about different public services, if we're talking about the police, we might have a little police car above it. If we're talking about the ambulance service, we might have a little ambulance above it. If we're talking about firefighters, we might have a little man trying to put out a fire. So relevant images with the mind maps. And again, usage of colour as well for organisation. So if we're using red coming off for everything to do with firefighters on our mind map, we're not going to be using red anywhere else, because red is going to be for that area only. So what I want you to do now, task 1, give the video a quick pause, and again, as we've done before, almost or some, you're going to complete the tasks based on the learning outcome that you're going for. So give the video a pause, and then we'll move on. Visualization diagrams. So when we're thinking about visualization diagrams, it's essentially a drawing. It's an image that you've created. That image could be an actual image. It could be a graphic. We could have a logo on it. We could have text on it. And again, as we've said before, annotations with visualization diagrams are key. We want to make sure that whoever I give my visualization diagram to, they'll be able to go away and use it. So when we're creating a visualization diagram, we could be creating an image electronically on a computer. We could be making it ourselves. Or we could be creating a graphic. One of those two could feature a logo. So for example, if I was going to create a trainer, I might put the Nike logo on it. So then I'm incorporating those two. I might decide to have the name of my new Nike Pepsi Superleggera all along the side of it. So that'd be a nice little bit of text. And again, as we were looking at before, when we were looking at mood boards with the text, we're thinking about font color, font type, font size, and they're all relevant for visualization diagrams. So task 2, give the video a quick pause and complete the question based on almost or some, based on what you're going for, and then we'll move on. Storyboards. So remember, storyboards are used for planning, are used for the planning when you're creating to produce, for example, an animation, a video, a TV advert, and they have a large number of things. So for example, first thing, they've got the number of scenes. So normally we've got a 2 by 3 row, so we've got 6 scenes, 6 boxes to fill in. So we need to know how many scenes we've got. We need to know what the scene content is, what it's all about. The timings, is it going to be done box by box? Are we going to have a grand thing? Okay, then this page of storyboard is going to take approximately 30 seconds. Do you want to divide it up? Think about the camera shots. Remember thinking about how those camera shots, those camera angles, those camera movements, how they all come together to create an emotive scene. So for example, if you're wanting to show some form of emotion, you want to use close-up shots so you can see the emotion on their face. If you want to make someone appear to be really imposing, you want to use a low angle on them so they're looking as tall and as big and as formidable as possible. If you're wanting to take in a wide area, you might want to use a pan so you can take in the surroundings behind someone. When we're thinking about lighting, thinking about where the light's coming from. Is it natural light? Are we just using the sun? Are we shooting something outdoors? Are we shooting something indoors with artificial light? Are we using a spotlight? Are we using just strip lights that you can have in a classroom? When we're thinking about sounds, obviously the obvious one on a storyboard could be dialogue, so people talking. Sound effects, ambient sound, music being played. So when we're thinking about these sorts of things, on the storyboard, we're not writing down the dialogue word for word. We could have a little speech bubble, but you don't write down the dialogue word for word on a storyboard. That comes later on the script. But in terms of sound, you could just say dialogue or sound effects. We could have someone's in a photocopying room. Obviously, it's not completely silent. There's the noise of the photocopier in the background. There might be noise in the background from a desktop fan. There might be someone working in there who's got the radio on. As we mentioned previously, the locations. Are you shooting indoor in a studio with a massive green screen behind it? Are you shooting in a particular location? So for example, in a sports hall. Are you doing it outdoors? Where are you doing it? And then finally, thinking about camera types that you could be using. So still camera, like the camera you've got on your phone if you're taking a picture. Video camera or virtual camera. So virtual cameras are used for animations. So if they're creating Family Guy, they're using a virtual camera. When you're playing a video game, if you're playing FIFA, you're watching the game through a virtual camera. If you're doing any 3D modeling, you're using a virtual camera because it's not physically there, but the representation of it is there on your computer. So what I want you to do for task 3, again, pause the video. There's your all, your most, your sum. Give those questions a go, and then we'll move on to the final area. So finally, we're looking at scripts. Scripts have got more information in terms of what's useful for the actors, what's useful for the directors, the producers on there. We've got the location for the scene, what happens in the scene, just an overall idea of what's happening. We have shot type information, camera movement information. We've got sounds. We've got who's going to be in there. We've got dialogue, so we've got line for line what's going on. We've got information about intonation, loudness, emotion, what's actually happening, what's the person's feeling, how is that changing their voices. And then finally formatting and layout, making sure that the format and the layout of it, the structure of it, how it looks, how it appears, is consistent all the way through, so then it's a nice, easy to use piece of pre-production. So, task 4, give the video a pause, pick your all, most and sum, and then it will be time to answer today's key question. So there you have it, today's key question. You can see at the bottom what features in different pre-production documents. Give the question an answer either in the red box in your booklet or on your Google Doc. And then that is the end of today's lesson. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I shall see you later on.